Testifiers are Millicent Cummings, to be followed by Claudia Shimmer-Keave. When you begin, if you could just introduce yourself, you've got 3 minutes.
Aloha, Millicent Cummings. Aloha, everyone who's either here or in spirit. Yesterday, there was a historic event at Iolani Palace coinciding with Queen Liliuokalani's birthday, with more than 40 Native Hawaiian organizations delivering a joint statement regarding the expiration of U.S. military land leases in Hawaii. It was a peaceful demand for Governor Josh Green, the state of Hawaii, and all representatives therein, to provide Native Hawaiian community representation in all lease negotiations to ensure accountability, restitution, and compliance with state and federal law, since these have been verifiably lacking. HRS 171-35 establishes the requirements that must be included in every lease issued by the BLNR for public lands. HRS 17136 about lease restrictions states that leases cannot be issued for land already under a lease with more than 2 years remaining, meaning lease negotiations cannot take place legally until August of 2027, 2 years prior to the end of the 29 lease agreement, resulting from the 2019 Hawaii Supreme Court decision, Ching versus Case. The state is required to fulfill its constitutional trust obligations, including taking affirmative steps to monitor and inspect the PTA lands in order to ensure lease compliance. The BLNR has had over 6 years since the Malama Aina decision to comply with the court's order to uphold its fiduciary duty to these public trust lands, conservation lands, and their beneficiaries, and yet has refused outside of making unenforced recommendations. Similarly, the renter, for $1 a year, the military has refused to abide by the lease agreement, not to mention both constitutional and international law. The recent premature and unlawful negotiations by the governor over the PTA lease renewal in proposing a land swap with the United States military is yet another expression of the same ongoing betrayal, dereliction of duty, and willful, reckless endangerment. Continued recommendations with no accountability regarding environmental degradations, fire hazards, aquifer contamination, devastating cultural impacts, multi-generational endangerment, inadequate cleanup plans, and flagrant breaches of the law will no longer be
30
tolerated.
seconds, please.
The destruction of Ko'olawe was never justified on the basis of U.S. national security, as evidenced by the fact that the said security was never compromised after the desecration was finally brought to its rightful end. The same is true for PTA. To pass Resolution 234-25 is the very bare minimum of action required by you at this time. Mahalo for not participating in continued lawlessness. The military must clean up its horrific mess and stop bombing our island. The jig is up.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We're going to have to move on. Thank you.
The speakers today shared sentiments of our community who are determined to address injustices that go back 150 years. What the military leadership and state leaders must try to understand is that the legacy of militarism in Hawaii is synonymous with injustice, struggle, and resistance. The legacy of harms against our Aina, such as the bombing and destruction of Ko'olawe, the eviction of Hawaiians from and the desecration of Makua Valley, the ongoing bombing of Pohakuloa, and the poisoning of one of our main aquifers on our most populated islands, the Red Hill disaster. And this is just to name a few. The list can go on and on. This is the legacy of the military in Hawaii. But our legacy has been to meet those environmental and humanitarian disasters with peaceful, non-violent resistance, grounded in kapu aloha. And each time those moments of struggle, those movements have made our community, our lahui, stronger. These leases will be no different. The injustice of $1 leases must be rectified. There is deep-seated misalignment and imbalance when the lessee, the tenant, controls the landlord. There is a deep shift in values needed when we continue to hear the common refrain that this land is the most valuable land on earth, whether it be for astronomy on Mauna Kea or for national security. Yet, when we question why they only pay $1 for land they claim is invaluable, Aina, that is priceless to us, we are brushed aside. This injustice is only allowable under a system of governance that has no respect for the people or the Aina. How else could they continue to destroy our resources? Today marks a shift that must occur. The land and water must be treated with respect and dignity. That is a baseline that currently does not exist, and we are here to demand it. We'll close. Mahalo nui. I'd like to close with a quote from Queen Liliuokalani on her birthday. You must never cease to act because you fear you may fail. Eoni pa'a ka ko. And today we close with Kapihe's prophecy. E iho ana o luna e pi ana o e hui ana na mo tu e ku ana kapaya. E iho ana o